hate hiring. I hated having to wait somewhere for someone to hopefully show up and phone interviews and all these other things. It drove me nuts. So the first thing I did was standardize my hiring process. That first year in Dogco is really about creating it to be super repeatable. That way I could train someone else up to take over that role.
Welcome to the Pet Business Hiring Podcast. I'm your host, Doug the Dog Guy, and today I am joined by one of my very close friends, Maris Sonnabend. She is the owner and founder of House of Paws Pet Care in St. Louis, Missouri. Before I pass it over to Maris, I do just want to quickly remind everyone that the Pet Business Hiring Podcast is brought to you and sponsored by my very own Pawsitive Hiring Academy and Dogco launch. Maris and I are actually in the Dogco Mastermind together, and as of earlier today, we are officially on the Dogco team, so I'm sure you'll hear a little bit about that in our interview today. Maris, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. I mean, like you said, we are colleagues, but we are also really good friends. We mentioned this earlier when we were catching up, but I feel like I see you more often than I see some of my friends that live like down the street, just from all your traveling adventures and all those crazy things that you do throughout the year. So I'm really excited to be here. I feel honored that you feel that I have something worthy to speak of on your podcast, which again, I'm also really excited about. I love a good podcast. I'm a podcast girly for sure.
Man, Maris, you are very inspiring to me. Seeing everything you've done with your business and your team over the last few years. I would love for you to just kind of catch the audience up on your story. Take us back to when you were working at Target and what really made you want to start a pet sitting and dog walking business.
Yeah, so I always giggle thinking that we both kind of started at Target. Something about
Yeah.
Target and pet sitting and dog walking, who knew? But I worked at Target basically from 2018 to 2021. I was a team lead there, and you can only imagine. I got promoted February of 2020, so right before the pandemic hit, and I was in charge of the shipping department. So we literally grew 100% or 300% overnight. I mean, it was crazy because you could only do order pickups. You couldn't go in stores, and it was a constant hustle and bustle. And I was getting really sick of hustling and bustling for something that was not my dream. No one's dream is retail, ever. I don't care what anyone says, unless maybe you're the CEO, sure. And I was pet sitting before work and after work, and I was starting to turn down pet sitting jobs to go to Target. And it just, again, wasn't my passion. So we closed on our house in April of 2021. And my husband is a numbers guy. And for him, the math was mathing on, okay, the bank will be out of our business. Let's close on the house and we'll just go full send on pet sitting and dog walking and see what happens. So it's coming up about 5 years now. Yeah, April will make it 5 years that I went full time. And since then, we've grown to a team of 30 team members with 2 full-time managers and 3 team leads. I am working on the business maybe 30 hours a week. I've got a little girl that I'm raising right now. She's almost a year old, which is also mind-boggling to think about. um, so the business has really gone from all the ups and downs. I mean, between all those 5 years, you see a lot of like 15-hour days and trying to do all the admin and the visits and everything else to now being able to do what really works for me in the business and for my lifestyle and what my goals are in life. So.
It's just incredible to me that you've only been full-time for, 4 or 5 years? Because we're at the same size. I have 30 team members with 2 managers, and I've been doing this 11 years. So I think that says a lot about your dedication, your perseverance, your skill set. So major props to you.
I'm a very competitive person, that's for sure. I don't like being told no and that things aren't possible. And I mean, there's so many resources now for our industry that didn't exist even whenever you started. I mean, you yourself are a resource for the industry. That's a huge one and gets a lot of people started and gives them a leg up that a lot of people didn't have 10 years ago. And of course, I am Dogco client and now a Dogco team member, and I attribute a lot of what I've done to Dogco and kind of like a fast forward button in a lot of ways because it kind of has saved me a lot from reinventing the wheel and a lot of things in my business.
If you feel stuck in your pet care business, this one is for you. I've worked with over 200 companies in the pet care industry, and this is what I can tell you. If you feel stuck in your business, if you are struggling with burnout, if your net profit is too low, if you're not growing your top line revenue, those changes will not happen by accident. My name is Michelle Klein. I am a coach consultant in the pet care space, and I help team-based companies grow and scale. We have just opened up our doors for enrollment, and we are only taking companies once a year. So if you want to work with Dogco, if you have that on your radar, January 2026 is your chance, and you need to schedule a consultation now. Go to dogcolaunch.com/mastermind to learn more.
And I'm also a really big pivoter. I will test something out. If it doesn't work, I'll try something else and see if it works. And there's always something changing. There's never anything stagnant. That's for sure. I don't like boring.
That is the truth. I feel like every time I talk to you, you're trying a new Google ad or you're launching your wedding attendant business. I mean, you have so many things going on. Meanwhile, raising a daughter and having pets of your own, I mean, you have a lot on your plate. You definitely do not settle for boring.
Yeah, I'm definitely a time blocker. That is for sure. My calendar would look all types of crazy to anyone else looking in on it, but it works for me. And my poor husband is one of my best employees, or worse, depending on the day. Don't tell him I said that. He's probably going to listen to this anyway. But that's the perks of him working for me too, is I get to organize him around my chaos. So it helps a lot. He's a trooper, poor guy.
Shout out to Tyler.
Yes, he loves a good shout out.
Take me back to when you went full time with House of Paws. Could you imagine yourself hiring and growing a team back then?
Gosh, I had already kind of been used to being a manager of some sorts by being a team lead at Target. And I remember doing an interview once. I was sitting in the room with someone who was older than me, but he looked at me when I was interviewing him and he's like, "So how old are you?" And I you know me, I'm pretty quick with my words. I was like, "Old enough to be your boss." Needless to say, I did not recommend him to be hired because I was like, it doesn't matter. And I was like 21 or 22 at the time. I was pretty young to be in that position. But whenever I went full time dog walking and pet sitting, I was just kind of feet to the ground, going out there, marketing, getting clients. And I knew all the clients wanted that 11 to 2 time frame. And there's only so many places I could be. So I brought on someone pretty quickly. Legally, probably not. Like Venmoing people just to get them to do some dog walks. I had no idea what I was doing. I just knew I had paying clients and I had to pay people to take care of those clients. So I brought on team pretty quickly, but the processes were definitely a part of it that I knew had to get figured out sooner rather than later because I wanted them to do the job the way I would do it. And especially if I was going to keep hiring, I needed to keep better track of them. So that's where software like Time to Pet came around, and just trying to document if I had time to write down how we do a dog walk, how we do a pet sit, how to scoop a litter box, things that seem so simple. But when you have a team and even are training people that don't have that knowledge, I mean, it might seem so simple to you, but other people might have never touched a litter box before. So everything is documented. Our Google Drive is crazy.
Same. Well, and you obviously figured out those building blocks pretty quickly and started documenting and got everything in place much faster than most because like we said, you have a daughter and you are one of the very few business owners and pet sitters just in general that I know that was able to actually take a maternity leave. And not only were you able to take a maternity leave, but your business kept growing and thriving while you were not really working in it. I mean, what's the key to that? What is your secret?
So I would say my special ability in a way is to put people in places that they are really, really good at, especially if they're better at it than me. I know this is a hiring podcast, but I hate hiring. I hated having to wait somewhere for someone to hopefully show up and phone interviews and all these other things. It drove me nuts. So the first thing I did was standardize my hiring process. That first year in Dogco was really about creating it to be super repeatable. Like that way I could train someone else up to take over that role. Um, she's actually my sister. My sister Chloe is my hiring manager, and she is a phenomenal HR person. She is just a great problem solver. And she's just, I don't even want to call her a people pleaser because she's able to establish boundaries and things like that. I think more so now that she's been in this role for a while. But she's just really good at getting people to feel comfortable and picking out the right people for hiring. I mean, her track record is phenomenal. I would not have the team I have right now without her. And there's always those people that slip through the cracks that seem great and are not, but that's not her fault by any means. But she has really refined our hiring process and made it to the point where I probably don't have an idea of what it all includes anymore, but I gave her, this is what I want out of the hiring. This is who I want you to hire. Let's kind of just fill in the gaps from there. So she was my first big admin hire of the hiring manager because it takes up a lot of time to schedule interviews and put them through all these processes. And she handles a lot of that. My next hire was a marketing manager because I knew that if I could get everything else streamlined, like Time to Pet took care of the scheduling and the client communication, if my marketing manager can keep that stuff running, like the social media, the outreach, and all that other stuff, that the marketing would still continue and the business would still grow when I wasn't the one being the one putting the foot on the gas pedal per se. So I really taught her about the brand and what we're looking for and our goals. And for maternity leave, we were actually getting rid of a core service of ours, which was boarding and daycare in our house. We were licensed to have up to 12 dogs at a time, which is like, if I think about that now, I'm like, oh my God, that's a lot of dogs in my house.
Yeah, wow.
And it was a core part of our services. Like for a while too, before my pricing really caught up with my business costs, it was covering our payroll. There was times if I didn't have boarding dogs, we wouldn't be able to make payroll, which is not how I recommend you run your business by any means. But I didn't know. I was just a Target kid trying to be a dog walker.
Been
So
there.
yeah, exactly. So being able to get rid of that service while also pushing marketing to replace that revenue of the quote unquote lost business of losing boarding and daycare. My biggest concern this year with getting rid of that and me still being out of the field is that we would have been stagnant for last year's revenue. That has not been the case. We have grown a lot, even with dropping that service completely. This is the first full year without it. And we're still up about 30% all the way around, which is crazy. So, and very
Wow.
exciting. But again, it's just putting people in places and finding people that are better at the job than I am. Like my team in general that's going out and doing visits in the field, they are better at being in the field than me because I am inevitably distracted by something else, whether that's someone sending me an email, another staff member asking me a question. I want my clients to have the best experience possible, and that's with my staff because they're just better at it than I am now, which is awesome.
Yeah. That's something that has really been the key to growing my own business as well is figuring out what my weaknesses are. And instead of trying to improve upon my weaknesses, I just say, I'll hire somebody else to do that. And then I'll improve on my strengths and I'll focus on those. And I mean, my operations manager, Brenna, she is so detail oriented and she can cross all the T's and dot all the I's. And so she does our scheduling and that side of things. And if I jump in there and try to do what she does, it's like everything goes haywire real quick. I'm the visionary. I've got all the ideas. I'm the talker. And then she makes it happen.
Yes, exactly. Well, and that's the thing too, is there's been a couple of times where I'm like reviewing some applicants in our CRM and I'm like, oh, they look good. I'll drag them over. And she's like, who messed with the CRM? Who is in the hiring software? I had this person lined up for this. Like, what are you doing? I'm like, my bad, girl. Sorry. I will just leave you to your job. I thought I was helping. But she does the scheduling too. So she knows where we need more staff and who would be a best fit. And culture is so important for us. I think culture is a big reason why employee retention has been really raised in the last year and a half also because it costs a lot to onboard a new hire, as you find out very quickly, and you want to keep them as long as possible, especially because it's not like we are in a industry where we can pay them $30 an hour. Taking care of your people means a lot, and we build that into our client journey and our staff journey. And I think that means a lot to everyone that comes into our business, and they can tell because there's a passion with everyone. So
Yeah, absolutely. Tell me a little bit more about that. What do you do to retain your team members?
So, the biggest thing that I think is that I know that most people pick us up as a part time job. We are there to fill in the gaps. They know that we are not going to be paying their mortgage per se, unless you're one of our managers, I guess. And so we will never say no to time off. We're really flexible with that. We have really big, we use Slack for communication. So they can always post a job if they need that picked up. Another team member will come and swoop that up. And it's actually assigned to us if we need to hire, if a lot of jobs are kind of pending in that available job Slack channel and people aren't able to get their shifts covered. So that's like one of our triggers for maybe this area needs more help, whatever that looks like. So that we actually just started, I think I showed you before, we started getting these little name tags. And I learned this at the Joey Coleman conference, or the Joey Coleman workshop at the Dogco Summit. He mentioned that getting name tags and awarding pins to people if they did certain things. So if they learn how to get insulin injection trained, we mailed them a little pin that has a little needle on it, and then write them a handwritten letter like, "Hey, you're now insulin. Like you can now give injections. Congratulations! Add this pin to your name tag." And if they
I
get a
love that.
5-star Google review and their name is posted, we'll put that in there. We'll mail them that. So they're getting physical mail. We're sending happy birthday messages in Slack. We are sending Starbucks gift cards if they did a great job. We do a new client onboarding questionnaire that asks them all of their favorite things. So it has nothing to do with work. It's just like, what do you like to do for fun? What's your favorite candy? What is your go-to comfort restaurant? And then those will be like the bonuses that we send out on their birthdays, anniversaries, just because all those good things. And I think just caring about people and understanding that they have life outside of work. Just because I don't have life outside of work and my daughter and my horses and maybe my husband doesn't mean they do. So just being understanding and caring, I think really makes a difference to them. And just treating them like people because again, coming from corporate and retail, you're just another body a lot of the times. You're always replaceable there and you are not replaceable when it comes to being a caretaker in someone's home of their most precious being. And I want those relationships established for a long time. So,
Absolutely. That Joey Coleman workshop at the Dogco Summit was so inspiring and eye-opening to me. I've read both of his books. I have them both on the bookshelf behind me, and have learned so much from him and what he teaches. Something that stood out to me is he said, I think the statistic was 74% of people in 2025 are just dying to know that they matter. And if we can prove that to them as their leader, then we've got them. Would they
100%.
yeah. And that has not left my brain once since the workshop. So I love that you're really putting that into action with these pins and the physical mail and telling them happy birthday. I mean, those little things make all the difference in the world.
Well, and especially because we're in an industry where it's not like you see these other people every single day. You might have shared a visit with them, like they did the evening visit. Now you're doing the morning visit. And why didn't you put the dish in the sink to soak it a little bit before? Like those types of things. So creating a community in an industry like ours with your team can be really hard. So just kind of involving people in the day to day. And we're working on doing more in-person stuff, but I need to get over the fact that not everyone's going to be able to make every single event. When it was a team of like 5 or 6 people, yeah, we can coordinate a time that works for everyone. That's just not possible with 30 people anymore. So even if it bothers me that not everyone can come, I just need to get it moving. We've got one coming up in January. That way it's out of slow season or out of busy season, a little bit more slower season so we can get everyone there. But I also need to realize there's not really a slow season anymore. So
That's a good problem to have, though.
yes, it is. It is. I can't complain about having a full plate when all I wanted to do was eat. So,
So you have a lot of moving pieces and parts. You're taking really good care of your team. You have a very large team. You have these managers in place. Tell me more about how you've actually documented the systems and the processes to make all of this happen.
Yeah, so I mentioned Google Drive before, and that does host a lot of things in regards to like the physical SOPs, but a lot of them also live in Slack. So my big goal when I went on maternity leave was to really consolidate the amount of places that we had all of these things because that's when things get lost in the cracks. And everything is documented as much as it can, like as much so like down to like how to process a cancellation, which seems pretty straightforward if you know the time to pet software, but maybe we do it in a different way. Like there are some times where we might make an exception to a cancellation policy if someone had a traumatic loss or they're really sick, something like that. And that's just kind of built into our culture side of it. So when it comes to Slack, we have dedicated channels for everything. So we have like end of shift updates that people will post in, like, hey, this is what I worked on today. This is a continuing issue. Like maybe there's a last minute request that we need to get approved. Here's the last thing I did on it. That way the next person that comes in knows where to pick up on that. And they know how to work a last minute request because there's an SOP on it in the Google Drive. So it really bounces back and forth between the Google Drive, Slack, and Time to Pet. Those are like the core services and or the core systems that host everything within them. We also use a CRM, which hosts like our hiring, new client onboarding. It's our social media planner. And what else does it do? Like a DocuSign type situation. So again, just consolidating as much as possible because especially whenever I was on maternity leave, I wanted to make sure things weren't being missed. And if my team has to look at a million different places that like somewhere new for new hires, somewhere for new clients, something's going to fall through the cracks. So really streamlining as much as I can and keeping things in our core systems has really helped a lot. And Zapier is definitely a bridge in between all of those things at times. So,
I just got a notification from Zapier right before we got on this call that I'm about to hit my monthly limit. So I got to go in and upgrade my membership again.
yeah, it's constant. Well, that's the thing too, is that you can never underestimate how busy you will get, especially this time of year. Plenty of zaps to go around, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So you have these different documents and things living in Slack and in Google Drive. How did you actually create the systems that go into Google Drive? What's actually written in these documents? Are you sitting down and typing all of this out, step one, step two, or are you using Loom? Are you using voice to text? Tell me more about your process here.
Oh god, if I had written everything step by step, I would have still been here trying to write it all. But I hate to bring it back to Dogco again, but Dogco gave me like when you first come in, you get like 65 plus SOPs. And some of them I haven't even touched yet, but like there was one, it's like the admin training manual that's like a
Yes.
60-page document on how to do everything in Time to Pet. And I think I've told this story on Michelle's podcast about I literally wrote her a love letter, like via email. And I was like, thank you so much for this document. I am 7 months pregnant and it took me like 3 hours to update this. I appreciate that. And when I mentioned that on the podcast, she goes, oh, I love it only took you like 3 hours because it took me 9 months. And I mean, that's true. It's like having to sit there and rewrite all of this stuff from scratch is, God, it's a pain. Like the last thing I want to do is sit in front of Google and write out a whole document on how to process a cancellation, all these other things. And it needed some tweaking for my specific business and how we operate, but it saved me from having to reinvent the wheel in that way. So I'm really thankful for all the SOPs that Michelle had. They really are fantastic. And again, there's some I haven't even touched yet or haven't even looked at because one either wasn't applicable to me at the time or I maybe had it written somewhere else already and just kind of plugged it in elsewhere. But also, I mean, I hate to say it, but ChatGPT is also a great tool when it comes just to formatting and like putting your thoughts into a more formatted way because the way my brain thinks is not the way your brain thinks, which is not the way someone else's brain thinks. So, and I want it so dumbed down that I could hand it to my 70-year-old grandma and be like, I need you to schedule a last minute request and you've never been in Time to Pet before. That's how small and detailed everything is in there because the people that are starting to learn it had never been in Time to Pet before, at least not on the admin side. So that's really important to me is that it's very, very specific to where I could hand it off to someone who has never been in there before and is able to do it all because it is that broken down that specifically.
Yeah, Michelle's SOPs were like the main driving factor that got me to join Dogco a year ago. I've been talking to Michelle, and I was kind of interested in the mastermind and stuff, but I really wanted the SOPs. That's what I wanted. And I kept hounding her about it. I was emailing her once a week, like, can I please buy the SOPs? Can I please buy the
She
SOPs? And
won't. Nope.
yeah, every time she was like, just join the mastermind. And I'm so glad that I did. And you're so right about that manager SOP. Like, wow, how much time did that save us?
Yeah, really. And that's the thing too, is when my first year in Dogco was, I definitely had no plans to get pregnant, I'll tell you that. So my first year was just me kind of standardizing and writing things out, and again starting to put people in places. And then I found out I was pregnant in March of 2024, and I was like, crap, like all this work I put in my business, I don't want to go stagnant with it. Year two, last year, 2024, was making sure everything was really documented because I didn't want all the work I put into it to just go flat. And that's what those SOPs, that's what processes are for. It's so that you can hand them off to someone else. That way it's not you doing everything. Because if everything is reliant on you, God forbid something happens where you can't do something. Like I run payroll every single week, but I still have an up-to-date SOP for how to do payroll because if something were to happen where I could not get to it, my team still needs to get paid. So if someone else had to go in there and run my payroll, they know exactly how to do that. And I've used tools like Scribe as well. Scribe is really useful for those really detailed things that might have specific buttons in certain places. And I've used Loom before as well, but I refuse to pay for things that I don't like always utilize. So the free versions have worked for me just fine. But I have a document or an SOP somewhere for absolutely everything because, again, sometimes life does take you out for a little bit. And if I hadn't done that first year of work to really start standardizing things, last year when I was pregnant would have been awful because I literally had a time frame that I had to get things done. And I was out of my business from Thanksgiving Day was my first day of maternity leave until the beginning of February. I took a 2 month hiatus from the business and everything was fine. And that was busy season. That was the time where you're supposed to be like 15-hour days. You're getting up at 5 a.m. and not coming home till 10. Like, and I was just at home with my baby, enjoying the holiday. It was lovely.
I love that. I love that. I haven't heard of Scribe before, so I'm gonna look at that as soon as we get off of this call.
Yeah, it's
I'm a
cool.
big fan of Loom though, and I agree with you with not paying for things. I think I had like 18 Loom accounts because you can make like 3 free videos, and I kept making new email accounts so that I could make another Loom account. And, Brenna, my operations manager, finally sat me down just a couple months ago and was like, Doug, please just pay for it. I was like, okay, fine.
But that shows like you don't have to have all these expensive systems to get things done. Google Drive is free. Like
Yeah.
and you can buy a business domain. That way you have the professional name behind it, whatever. And I do recommend that, especially as you get bigger. But you don't have to have big, fancy, expensive systems to standardize. It could just be you and a Word document, and that's totally fine. But as long as it's documented somewhere, I think that's the least that you owe your clients and your staff and everything else. Because again, if the buck ends with you and something does happen to you, no one ever plans for any of that. And if you have pets that are relying on you, gosh, even if you're a solo sitter, do that. That way people know how to get into your system and get a hold of your clients and get a hold of their emergency contacts if needed. I think if we are in this industry, we owe that to the people that we serve, whether that's our clients or our staff.
I love that you mentioned that this is important even if you don't hire. You know, if you're listening to this podcast at home, trying to determine if hiring and growing a team is right for you, and you decide, man, I don't want to do all that, you still need to document your systems and your processes and make sure a friend or a family member, someone in your circle has access to these systems because what's going to happen to your clients and all of those cats and dogs and furry friends that you take care of if you get into a car accident or you get sick or something happens? You know, those clients are still needing you. They're depending on you. So it's just so important to have all this documented. And it's easier now than ever to make these SOPs and to document our processes. I know when I first started documenting my way of doing things 11 years ago, I was literally taking like a notepad to clients' homes with a pen, and handwriting, like, this is what I do, step one, step two. And then, I would get home after a 15-hour day and I'd go to sleep at my laptop because I'm trying to like type out what I had handwritten on this notepad. And now we have voice to text on our phone. We have Loom, ChatGPT. I just had ChatGPT like completely reformat a bunch of my documents last week. I mean, our resources are endless now. So if you're a business owner feeling overwhelmed, at home listening to us, just know that it is easier now than ever. You just have to utilize the tools that are at your disposal.
100%. Well, and also with things like Time to Pet or any other software that you have that your clients have access to, it's okay to have your clients do things for you. I will not allow my team to update any pet care information, especially when it comes to like medicine, feeding instructions, things like that, because that's a liability. That is on the client to make sure that's updated. I don't care if they left a note out on the table. I will ask the client to update that because one, it's just if we were to do that for every single client, when you get to 500 clients, it's just not sustainable, and it's costing you a lot of admin time, and just I can always make more money back, I cannot make time back, and that is one thing that I've really kind of had at the forefront of my mind this last year is that if I'm willing to pay people to do something that I am not willing to do or just don't have the time to do so anymore because I have other things to focus on. And for our clients too, again, just the liability of us updating those things for them because we want them to have the premium experience. You can still give them the premium experience by giving them some responsibility, by filling out their own pet profiles and all these things. And again, that kind of pulls it off of you to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do. And yeah, we might need to nudge them. There's a couple times we're like, hey, it's 2025 and you haven't updated your pet profile since 2022. I know something has changed with your dog. Please make sure that's updated. Even if you have to handhold a little bit, it's okay to ask your clients to do a little bit of the heavy lifting for you, and they will do so. It's okay to ask. Hell.
Yes, it is okay to ask and tell them. Well, Maris, this is so inspiring. What other tips and tricks do you have for us for hiring and growing our team?
So my biggest tip would be if you are doing an interview with someone. So I didn't even mention this before. We don't even do in-person interviews anymore. All of our interviews are
Wow.
virtual now. The first time we meet someone is whenever they are coming through the door for orientation.
Wow.
So we have a step in between our phone interview and our video interview where we ask them to send us a sample report card. And we tell them on the phone, like, hey, I'm going to give you some context now for how a visit would typically go. I'm going to need you to text me back what your report card would look like. I'll expect that here in the next hour or so. And once you send that over to me, we'll schedule your video interview. And depending on how well they follow those instructions, will determine if we bring them on to the video interview. If they just totally forget about it, okay, great. They don't have great attention to detail, so we're not even going to continue with them. If there's a lot of grammar mistakes, or even if, I don't know, if there's something just off about it, we won't continue with them. But it's a good gauge for us to determine how well they could follow instructions. And if they're even still interested, I'm not continuing to push them through if they're not going to respond. It's a step for them to take. So whether you had some sort of like personality test or just a question you ask at the end of the interview to have them follow up with you on has been a huge game changer for us because it keeps them involved in the process and also, again, shows us how serious they are about the position. And again, it kind of weeds them out on their own, which is nice.
Yeah, I love this of having them send a sample report after that first interview. I just wrote that down in my notebook because I am so stealing that.
Well, especially because, like, even if they have a great interview, you want to know how they're typing to your clients and what their style is. And we use a lot of emojis in our report cards, and we can train them on that. I can train a lot of like the smaller behaviors, but again, it's kind of up to them in that way for them to decide what their next move is in that regard. So it's been very useful for us.
I love it. I love it. That's great. Do you have any other tips or tricks for us?
Just keep listening to the Positive Hiring podcast. I'm so excited to have another pet care thing in my earbud. I'm always listening to something, whether I'm doing dishes or taking a shower, not to be weird. So I'm really excited. No, this is awesome. The industry really needs more resources, and there really has never been a better time for there to be more have to be able to run your business and have all these resources for free. And of course, there's ones you can pay for. We're a part of Dogco.
Yeah, yeah. Tell us a little bit more about your role with Dog Code now.
Yeah, so I am a community leader or success leader in Dogco, which means that I'll be working with about 25 other businesses as they go through the first year of Dogco, and just helping them get through the program, showing them some of those SOPs as the need comes up for their business, and just kind of being the person they can rely on when it comes to just accountability. Because especially when you're a business owner and you have so many other things going on, a lot of things get pushed off on the to-do list and they just keep getting rewritten every day, every week, every month. And so to have someone to lean on, just be like, hey, can you make sure I wrote a blog this week? Because I've been telling myself the last 2 months I was going to post a blog, and I just need someone to follow up and make sure I do that. So that's what I'll be for a lot of other business owners. And I'm excited to be that because I'm in a place in my business where I can help others. And that's really exciting for me.
That is very exciting. I love that Michelle is putting together such a, intricate and intentional network of us to really all help support each other. And I'm so excited. I'll be starting in January by leading a Wednesday office hour all about hiring and retaining your team members. So I might need to figure out how to post these podcast episodes before enrollment closes. I was planning on waiting until January, but I think talking to you is inspiring me to start posting these in December. So I'm going to figure
Take
that
your
out.
plate. Another thing.
Why not? Why not? You know what? If you're listening this at home, you have to be enrolled to Dogco before December 31st. I'll put the information down in the description below. And then you'll do your discovery call with Maris here.
Yes, I'm also doing discovery calls. So my job with that is to determine if Dogco is the right fit for your business. And of course, vice versa. But there's been plenty of conversations I've had with people where I'm like, hey, I need you to get this in line before you're ready for Dogco. And not because I think that Dogco is above anything, but because I want the companies that are in there to be ready to make changes in their business. And there are seasons where change is not the right thing for you. If you're just trying to keep everything steady and just kind of maintain where you're at, then no, Dogco is not right for you. But if you're looking to scale and grow and I hate to say create an empire, but that's my goal. Then Dogco is the place to be, especially because you get to be in the room with so many other businesses who have that same goal in mind. And just the community alone. I mean, Doug, we just came fresh off a Dogco call right before this, and the names that are in there it's so exciting to have them all in one place because they are some really big names in our industry that are doing a lot to make us all better. And when one of us are better, all of us are. So I'm really excited for it.
Absolutely. Rising tides lift all ships,
Yes, I love that.
or something like that.
Something like that, but I love it regardless.
Awesome. Well, you've officially inspired me to add something else to my to-do list.
Or Brenna's. Sorry, Brenna.
Yeah, sorry, Brenna. Um, awesome. Just a caveat here. To join Dogco, you do have to have a team already. If you do not have a team yet, we would love to have you over in my Pawsitive hiring course. The Pawsitive Hiring Academy is the hub. It is the home, the storefront where you can go to get the Pawsitive Hiring course. You can go to get this podcast that you're listening to right now. And then over the course of 2026, I'll be adding some other really cool resources to the Academy as well.
So excited.
Go check out the Pawsitive Hiring Academy on Facebook and Instagram if you would like to start growing your team. That way you can be ready to join the Dogco Mastermind in 2027. Because Michelle only does enrollment once a year now. So if you have an existing team, you can go ahead and join Dogco now before December 31st. Otherwise, come join us over at the Pawsitive Hiring Academy. Either way, I'm excited to hang out with you.
Oh, so exciting.
Yes. Maris, thank you so much for making time to talk to me today. Tell everyone at home where they can learn more about you and House of Paws and get in contact with you.
Yeah, the most immediate way to reach out to me and the business would be on Instagram, and that is at House of Paws Pet Care LLC. I'm usually in those DMs somewhere, so if you ask for Maris specifically, I will magically appear. Um, you can also find me on the Facebook groups. My Facebook name is Maris Miller Sonnabend. Again, I'm all over those groups like Next Level, Michelle's Grow Your Daily Dog Walking Business, all that good stuff. So I'm easy to find.
Awesome. I'll have all of your information down in the podcast description below. Thank you again so much for joining me today. For everyone at home, I am Doug the Dog Guy. This is Maris Sonnabend, and we are reminding you to stay positive.